Across the Park podcast is proud to be sponsored by Globe Gas and Heating. For the best kitchen and bathroom renovations, boiler servicing and repair, and central and underfloor heating in the Northwest, head over to globecentralheating.com and quote Across the Park for a free quote.
Hello everyone, how are we doing? Welcome to Across the Park podcast. This is our opposition preview. Delighted to be joined by Steve Machala. Have I pronounced that right there, Steve?
Yeah, it's Machala. Just silent H. It's Polish and Czech. You're not the first one to mispronounce it, and you're not the last. So
I definitely should have checked that before we come on. So apologies, Steve. Yeah. Steve's from Newcastle Fans TV, and joining us all the way from the US of A.
Yes.
So welcome, Steve, and thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, man. It's a pleasure. Love talking to new fans of any club, even Mackham's. I'll talk with them about football. So, it's good to meet you, bro. Absolutely. Thank you.
I guess it's even more pleasurable when you're doing so well.
Yeah, exactly. No, it is to be honest, it is nice when you are doing so well. You're going from game to game, but I don't know how I feel about this game quite yet. I don't know because
we'll try and get into that, Steve. Anyway, just before we talk about the game itself, I mean, talk to us about Eddie Howe, the team he's built. How does it feel, and where has this team so far this season? And obviously the season has a good closure. Have they exceeded your expectations?
Absolutely, yeah. Going into the season, I was thinking about 7th place. I think I'm pretty sure I predicted us to win the FA Cup and maybe the Carabao Cup or something like that. I'm pretty sure I said FA Cup we'd win it. And I was close because we got to a final of the Carabao Cup and lost to Manchester United. But no, it's been tremendous. It's just so hard. It's not hard. It's just so interesting, I guess, to go from relegation battles, because I remember specifically Norwich last year at home. I'm like, if we don't win this, we're down and out. And then when Kieran Clark got a red card, I'm like, all right, now we're really down. But that game was significant, very, very significant, because Joe Ellington moved from up top to midfield. And it's been one of the single greatest turnarounds I've seen in a player. And that's not being exaggerative at all. So, yeah, for me, Eddie Howe, when he first got appointed, I was like, this makes a lot of sense. Because if you look at where he took Bournemouth, a points deduction in League Two, managed somehow to keep them up. And then, kind of just steadied the ship a little bit and then took them up to League One, then the Championship, a few years in there to establish themselves, and then they got promoted to the Premier League, and then even stayed in the Premier League, got a top 10 finish, I think, in 16-17. And what that showed right there is he can take a club from a certain level, a very, very low level, and he can go up and up and up and up and up. And then when he's at a very high level for the club that he's at, he can maintain it for a few years. So if you look at what Newcastle, we were bottom of the league going into December, around there. Us and Burnley would kind of flip-flop. If you look at it, that I don't know if that was the owner's process. I'm sure it was, because I can't be the only one that noticed it, that it's like, well, we're at a really low level right now and we want to go to a high level. And for me, he's doing that right now. We're in the middle of that, of that actual process that I can see, and the owners, they're giving me some clear ideas and objectives to hit. And everyone's on the same page at the club. And it's just tremendous. It's just tremendous. So, yeah.
Well, I'm listening to you talk. I'm watching the way you play. I'm obviously seeing that identity you're talking about, and I can't help but be incredibly envious. I mean, we've
Yeah.
We had a new owner come in 5 years ago or so now, Fahad Mashiri, with a lot of money, with a lot of promises,
Tragic.
and it shows obviously how wrong it can go, and how how you're not guaranteed success with that money. I think one thing I want to touch on, and you've almost answered this question, but I just want to ask it specifically because it was certainly on my mind when you appointed Eddie Howe. I thought it was obviously a very shrewd appointment. I always got the feeling that he was for you, Eddie Howe was something of a stepping stone, and you're maybe going to use him to get you to a certain level, and then maybe you'd look to appoint someone else. Given what he's done this season, I'm assuming that that's not on the cards now, and he deserves the chance to continue his incredible start.
Absolutely. For me, it's like, I don't know. He like I said, he's taken us up to this level. I think we're getting Champions League football. So what is the next level he can go to? Because the sky's the limit. This guy could, complete football. You never know with a quadruple, because that is probably the best of the best, or invincible. I don't think we'll probably get there. Exactly. But you know what I'm saying? That's like
listen,
way. Let's make some progress now. Let's get out of a Champions League group. Let's win the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, or if we get knocked out if we get knocked out in the group stage, third place, go on to win the FA Cup or
Europa League, yeah.
Get to the final of it. Like that's what I'm curious about. Where is his maximum that he can take us? I think it could be anything, because he's on that upward trajectory right now. And when you're in that moment, it just seems like everything's just gonna go. So for me, I think he will win us a trophy. I think he'll win us an FA Cup probably in the next 2 years, and I think he will have to, because there is pressure to win because of all the money, the ambition of the club and whatnot. But I trust whatever the hell is going on, because it just has been such a rapid and a really incredible, incline to be a part of. So whatever works for the ownership and Eddie Howe and these guys, I'm cool with it. So.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on some of the improvements that Eddie Howe has made to certain players. Obviously, Miguel Almiron comes into that bracket as well. He's dipped a little bit, but you kind of expect that. He has an incredible first half of the season. But the signings, Kieran Trippier, one of your first ones, has been incredible. Bruno Guimaraes, unbelievable. And now we're seeing, Isaac coming to the fore. Again, I hate to be like, I'm just so jealous, because the signings, almost everything you've touched has turned to gold.
I know, and that's the other thing too. It's like that's how it feels, right? Because everything we've touched turned to gold. The profile of player has fit spot on for the most part, except like a Chris Wood probably. But even so, we still got a few goals out of him that were important. I remember Southampton away, he scored against them when we were on the road last year to getting out of the relegation zone and whatnot. So, and Chris Wood's signing did also weaken Burnley, and that's what at the time, So even then, there are positives with that signing. The one that obviously is the most recent one is the Anthony Gordon one. I like the player. I probably wouldn't have signed him for that amount of money. Having said that, like we've been talking about, a lot of these signings have, been very, very good. Very good. I mean, again, Trippier, where would we be without him? I think we wouldn't. The leadership, the model professional, voice in the locker room, and then that's not even the quality on the pitch. The way that our system is he's such a key cog in that. We'll go to a 3-3-4 pretty much, because he'll just bomb all the way up. Set piece threat, crosses into the box. It's been a bit off lately, but he's still had a very good season. So and Sven Botman has been a remarkable signing. He wouldn't look out of place in any Premier League side at the moment. So good on the ball, a big towering presence, just composure for me. He doesn't He doesn't. He get caught out a few times, but he'll recover pretty well. And even in the games like Nottingham Forest away, he made a pretty bad mistake. He'll recover after that. So that shows some mental strength and whatnot. So, and Isak looks a problem. Looks a problem for everyone. I mean,
He looks
the fact that we only signed him for about 10 million more than Spurs did Richarlison, and look at the return that we've gotten, what they've got. So I mean, and then Bruno Guimaraes, obviously, the list goes on, and then you give us Champions League football in the summer. You know, players are gonna have to consider, right? Look at this project at Newcastle. They might not say, "Oh, I'm definitely going," but their agents are gonna, you know, if they're doing their jobs correctly, they're gonna be like, "Hey, let's ring up Newcastle, or do you want me to ring up Newcastle if you're interested in this?" So it's we're putting our name out there, and it's a pretty serious what's it called? Kind of a sales pitch per se.
Yeah, it's a statement, isn't it? You've made a statement not only with your success on the pitch, but I think, as you've touched on there, look, you're ticking a lot of boxes for potential players. You're going to be in the Champions League. You know you can pay money, or you can pay the wages that they probably want. And Eddie Howe showed the ability to develop players. So, you know, you're looking at it thinking, I'm going to improve there as a player. I'm going to get good money. I'm going to be in the Champions League. I mean, I think if you were to drop your stadium and put it in London, you could get anyone in the world. But, you know, the likes of us and yourselves always have that slight issue of attracting the very, very best because we're not London. You know, we're not a London club.
Yeah. Even West Ham can get these guys because it's in London. I mean, look at QPR in the early 2010s. They were able to attract some big names.
Yeah, they would attract some big names.
Fulham have had big names before. Spurs, you know. The London thing is nice, but having said that, we've also had some good footballers, and you have as well. And Manchester United, obviously, Manchester's not the most glittering city on earth to live in, but you're right about the London thing. It would help, but that's where we just gotta let the football do the talking, really.
Yeah, and listen, I think it's been in your, if I'm honest, it's been in your favour as a project and the way that your squads have come together. You haven't had that marquee signing that's kind of dominating the news. I mean, Bruno Guimaraes was probably closest to that, but he's not.
Isak, if he was healthy the whole year.
But he's still not what I mean is he's not that type of ego, is he? It's going to dominate the
press. Ego. You're right.
Taking over the attention.
And that's something Eddie Howe. Sorry to cut you off real quick. That's something with Eddie Howe. That's something that Eddie Howe really, really, really takes a lot of does a lot of research into personality. Does it fit with the squad? What is he like? So. Yeah,
that's probably the next one I wanted to come on to, and that is you mentioned him briefly there, but obviously it's a connection at this stage between us, and that's Anthony Gordon. I mean, you touched on the price you paid. We were absolutely delighted with that business from our point of view. I mean, look, I don't mean it to sound bitter. Anthony Gordon is a talent. No. He's a very talented player, but for whatever reason, and I think one of the big reasons being the transition of managers and the instability around the club, we were not getting the best out of Anthony Gordon. So to get that type of money for him was good business. We didn't reinvest it, and I'm not going to go into that because that's obviously a sore subject.
That's a machinery problem.
That is, yeah.
Ken Wright and what's the lady's name?
He's part of Baxendale.
Baxendale, yeah.
But look, we'll try and stay away from that. The one thing I did want to ask you is as a Newcastle fan, money aside, what's Anthony Gordon been like since he showed up? What's the impression he's made been so far?
For me, some frustrating moments. But super he's a super young kid. There is some talent and he's got some graft in him. I mean, there was a goal that we scored against West Ham. We chased down, I believe I could be wrong on this. I believe it was either Pablo Fornals or Ben Rama, one of the guys on the left. Tackled him, cleaned him out, gave it to either Botman to just spray long, and then we scored off of that. And I think it was a Fabianski mistake. Right there, that that's the thing that Eddie Howe's going to want out of him. It's like you don't need to be the direct, you don't need to be the direct goal scorer or assist.
Yeah.
Play your part. Play your part in the team. Just do your role. So that kind of stuff is encouraging. And there was the whole thing. I believe we were away to Fulham or something like that, and he got subbed off. And he kind of kicked up a bit of a fuss. And again, he's a younger lad, so those things are going to happen. But I'm pretty sure one of either Eddie Howe or one of the senior players in the dressing room, like a Dan Burn, Cher, Dummett, even to an extent, probably had a word with them and was like, "Yeah, we don't behave like that."
Yeah.
Probably that. So for me, Anthony Gordon's got some work to do. But if there is someone to, get him to be a pretty good player, it probably would be Eddie Howe. So I'm optimistic on him, but there's some work to do. He's rough around the edges, I would say.
I think as you've alluded to there, I think it's a good fit. I think it's a good fit for Anthony Gordon. Listen, if he can't succeed at Newcastle, there's nothing down for him. I think
we have the money that we can just. Sorry to cut you off. We have the money to just be like, well, if you don't work, we'll just loan you then. We don't care.
Yeah, definitely. So just on that subject then, and obviously his game time's been fairly limited, although I think he started maybe the game before last, didn't start against Tottenham. Would you expect him, or would you like him to start at Goodison? Do you think it's a game where, given the history, it's one that maybe he'll be up for and you might get something out of him? Or is there feeling that his presence maybe riles the crowd?
It could work either way. It really is kind of one of those. He's not really in form right now, so I probably wouldn't. Could be a sense of the occasion might be enough for him, but then again, it could be something that, you never know, that could kickstart everything because he proves a point. You never know. For me, I probably wouldn't be starting him just because I would just keep the 11 that we had against Spurs. I would just roll with that. And that's what and by the way, that's what Eddie Howe does anyway.
Yeah,
if you look at when we win, we don't really change the next game very often. Our subs we don't really sub out many of our players. It's usually the same 11. So I wouldn't be expecting Matt Target to play. I wouldn't be expecting Almiron to start necessarily. There might be one or two because it's a midweek. You never know. But for me, I probably wouldn't start him. I would just start, what we had on Sunday. So because that worked out, I would say.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad result.
You ever seen anything like that, by the way?
I mean, I'll be honest, and I hate to say it, the last time I seen a team dismantle another team in that way, on and off the ball, was probably Liverpool against Arsenal at Anfield. It was going back a few years ago. I think Suarez got a hat-trick in the first 20 minutes or something. Wow. And it was at the time when I think it was under Rodgers, when he had like Sterling, Suarez, Sturridge, and they had a really good thing going on. I mean, as a Blue, you watch them games hoping for the opposition to turn up, and I remember thinking, wow, these are unplayable here. And you were, on and off the ball, you were like animals. Just hunting everything down, and they look so hungry. And coming onto our game, I don't think I could be any more fearful. Having watched that game, and there's two sides to it. I guess sometimes it's a case when you play so well and win so handsomely, and you can sometimes come into the next game with a little bit of complacency. We're half hoping for that. I know that's not the character of your team necessarily, but we're hoping that we may catch you a little bit cold because you've just come off a comfortable victory. But listen, we're clutching as Blues. We're clutching in terms of ways that we might be able to hurt you. Dominic Calvert-Lewin coming back is a huge boost. He looks very fit. We didn't, as we spoke off there briefly about the Palace game, we clearly didn't do enough to get good service to him against Palace, and we need to solve that problem. Just from your perspective, because you've spoke a lot about your strengths and certainly it's there for everyone to see in terms of the quality of the team. Is there anything from Everton's perspective that you're looking at thinking there's an Achilles heel for this Newcastle team that Everton might be able to exploit? Come on, Steve, give us some hope.
Yes. No, yeah, there absolutely is. I don't know how much you watch of Newcastle. Obviously, I do every game. But in the past few away games, the way we started hasn't been that great. I don't know if you watched us play Aston Villa. Ollie Watkins had a chance, and obviously, Aston Villa are in red hot form. I wouldn't say the same for you guys, but it doesn't really matter because for me, Everton do just enough when backs are to the wall, and I feel like your club's been in that position for quite a long time, and there's just so much that you can go back to the wall, and just keep on, throwing punches and it's staying in a fight, right? Staying in a fight for all, 10, 11, 12 rounds, however it works. So for me, that would be the one thing. Come out, Goodison, I'm sure, will be up for it because, like I said, you guys with your backs to the wall, your club is on the line in some extent because relegation, I'm sure, I don't even know if Mashiri knows what the consequences are, possible consequences are for that financially and whatnot. So yeah, your fans are definitely going to be up for it. So that would be my advice for you would probably be just start quick out the gates because we are a bit just like Arsenal lately. Talking about games where they've conceded in the opening minute and whatnot. It's not to that extent with Newcastle, but we haven't been great starting in the away games. So that would be the one thing. Like if you get the first goal, I expect you 100% to get at least a point out of it, I think. At least.
I think if you'd offered me a point before the game, I would probably snap your hands off, although it is that stage of the season where I think if we get in front, you'd have to be bitterly disappointed to not get a victory because it's, it's so tight at the bottom down there, and victories are going to be huge. I mean, so look, we'll come on to that stage. We've obviously got the game tomorrow, so I want to give people a chance to digest this as well. Give us your prediction, Steve. It is an Everton show, but don't worry about it. You've got to nail your colours to the mast and be confident. Give us your prediction.
Yeah. Well, I always like to think of myself as pretty unbiased as much as I could possibly be because I do I like a bet or two. So when you bet, if you bet emotionally, that's an easy way to lose money. So I always look at things pretty analytically and whatnot. For me, we have done head-to-head wise pretty well. Last year, though, it was a similar situation where you guys were in a relegation battle and you are now.
Awobi got the goal in that one.
99th minute. That was the pitch invader game that tied to the.
Yeah, it was a strange game. That
very very strange. Yeah. We've massively improved though. I would think since then though. I still do think Goodison will get a point out of it. I think it'll be 1-1 because I see us scoring definitely, but I also see you guys scoring because, like I said, we've started some of the away games a little bit sketchy. So I'll go 1-1. I think I'll go 1-1.
I'm going to join you on that fence. I agree. I think both teams are getting this on the score sheet, but I think we'll both get a couple. I'm going to go 2-2.
And there have been a few 2-2s over the years. Lejeune, the most memorable one.
Yeah, that was horrible. That one. It was horrible.
That was madness.
It was crazy, that one, yeah. But no, I agree with that notion. I think the atmosphere will play a huge part tomorrow. Yeah. I think it'll give us that extra 10%, which we will need just to match yous. I do fancy us to get the first goal. I think we might go in front twice in the game, but I think the quality you've got, not only in the starting lineup but off the bench, will probably be enough to get you a point at least as well.
What I will say, and I'd love your thoughts on this too, if we score first, because you think you'll score first, right? If we score first, do you fancy getting anything out of the game? Because I think whoever scores first, will get at least a point. Yeah,
I mean, listen, and this is
and I think if we score first, we're definitely winning.
If you score first, the game's gone for me. Yeah. It really is. I think it'll play into your hands in terms of you being able to hit us on the break with the pace you've got. The ability you've got from the centre of the park to switch the play quickly into playing behind us. It could get.
You've got to worry about Cher, long ball, Botman, Bruno. Joe Wellington getting on the end.
Trippier will play down into the channels. So you've got so many players, as you say there, that can hurt us with that ball in behind. And I think we'll be wary of that from early on. I really worry for us if you get the first goal. Not only that, it will sap everything out of the atmosphere. And that it's a difficult, as much as Goodison is a really difficult place for the opposition to come when it's rocking. It's a tough place for the home players to play when the atmosphere is flat and when there's moans and groans. As I've seen at St James's down the years when you've had Mike Ashley in charge and there's been all kinds of negativity around the stadium. The minute the opposition go in front, all those feelings come to the fore, and it becomes a toxic place for your players to play. So I don't even want to think about you scoring first. I think if we score first, we've got every chance.
Exactly.
If we score first, I think it's done. I think I would almost surrender the points and move on to the next game.
Yeah. No, that's a good call. That's a good call.
Negative as that sounds.
Definitely. And who do you think's been your player of the season, by the way? Onana, maybe?
Onana's been a huge.
He's someone I would take at Newcastle if you guys did.
Listen, he's a top player. I wouldn't say he's been our player of the season because I don't think he's made enough game-winning contributions on and off the ball. I don't think he's had enough games where he's took the game by the scruff of the neck. If you had to put my neck on the block to pick one player, I'd probably say Tarkowski. Honestly,
he's been dependable.
Performances at the back have been very consistent. In a very difficult team to kind of play in that way. Apart from that, I'm really struggling for anyone who's been consistent. Pickford's had games where he's won us the match, but then he's had games, as he always does, where he's erratic and he throws one in him. He's another player tomorrow that you can't not mention when you play Newcastle, because every time we do, with him being a Mackham, he lets the occasion get you.
The dino arms,
Tries to wind your players up, and he's look. He's a very divisive character for Evertonians, and you either love him or you don't like him. And I don't like him. I don't think he helps himself, and I think he can be his own worst enemy as well as our own worst enemy.
True.
So I think from answering your question, I'd probably say Tarkowski's been the most consistent and the most dependable, and he's a leader, and I think he's someone who deserves to stay in the Premier League. Hopefully with us, but he's that type of character as well, where if we went down, he'd be wanting to stay and help get us back up. So a very likable character and a proper leader, and a really good signing on a free. Listen, now is the time of the season where someone can literally grasp that mantle by winning a few games for us. Whoever steps up in these last few games has got a chance to make themselves a hero and to probably not only become player of the season, but have a place in folklore. Because although last season we looked like in a really difficult position, this is worse. We haven't got Richarlison. We haven't got a fire and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Anthony Gordon played a part towards the end of last season as well. So we're lacking firepower that we had last season.
Just like how Leeds don't have Rafinha now, or or someone stable in the middle of the park, like what's his name went to Man City.
Yeah,
Calvin Phillips.
and Bamford's not scoring goals, so they're for me. Leeds are the blessing in disguise for us because they're so hopeless at the moment that
they don't have any characters in that team aside from Tyler Adams, if I'm honest.
Yeah, that's it. They are lacking in, and that's something that under Bielsa they had bags of that. They had tons of that, didn't they? But they're lacking in that now. But that's it. I think that's probably a bit of a compensation for us that Leeds are one of them teams, along with Forest, that look likely to pick up less points than us. But anyway, listen, thanks a lot, Steve. Really appreciate your time tonight. I'd say best of luck tomorrow, but I absolutely won't mean it. And I don't think you need the luck. I think it's us who needs it. But best of luck for the rest of the season. I genuinely am delighted to see you make the Champions League. I think you've had enough years of suffering, and you've certainly put the hard yards in as fans, and it's great to see you getting some rewards. So listen, and more than anything else, it's great to see the Reds getting pushed out. So
exactly, that's the thing that, and I've heard this is from loads and loads and loads of different fans, is that everyone seems to have a soft spot for Newcastle, especially the '90s. That was kind of where that started because we play good football. We've got a good fan base. We're enemies with your enemy, probably, whether that be Liverpool with Man United or whoever. So it's it's a nice, real nice club to support. I'm glad my mom's friend Steve moved here from the UK to the US. He made me support Newcastle because he was just sick of suffering all on his own. I was like, all right, why not?
There you go. Well, you're getting your rewards now, mate, and again, best of luck to you, and thanks again for your time. I'm sure we'll catch up. Again. Maybe the end of the season, do a little preview. Hopefully, we're still in the Premier League. Otherwise, I'll be talking to Sunderland fans instead. But take care, Steve. All the best, mate.
Take care. Thanks for having me on, Matt. Pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Peace.